pretending to be an author. I'm actually a pediatric nurse practitioner and went from being a clinician to a business owner as a consultant and coach for nurses. And through kind of a journey of starting a community health initiative in South Carolina, was a project to start jotting down my reflections and thoughts of what it meant to be visionary in my approach to nursing and healthcare, as well as just in my approach to leadership. And it was something that, you know, I didn't envision it going that direction, but it just kind of naturally transpired that way. And a lot of times, your vision can be very uncertain to you, but actually something that you're very equipped to do. So it's been really interesting to see how all these things have kind of come together, seeing how, you know, this ebook has inspired other people, and then just really seeing how things that you don't anticipate or expect to be a strength for you actually ends up being a really big strength. So I'll kind of talk a little bit more about the kind of inspiration behind it, the backdrop to it, and things like that. Kind of walking through the entire journey of it, I guess. Originally, when we relocated from Philadelphia to South Carolina about a year and a half ago now, to start a community health initiative. And the impetus behind this health initiative was to change the platform and the landscape of health in South Carolina, because South Carolina was like number 43 out of 50 in the nation in terms of health rankings and things like that. And so we thought, you know, we can make this huge impact, we're going to uproot ourselves, we're going to move down, and it wasn't something that seemed so far-fetched. It was actually something that was in line with kind of community outreach that I always saw myself doing in the first place. Community health has always been kind of the foundation of how I approach health and healthcare, and I thought that I could translate that into kind of a rural setting. And after many years of living abroad and working and things like that within the traditional clinical setting, I just saw that I wanted to impact others with education. So we made the big leap. It was very difficult, especially, you know, we're now 2 boys in. We only had the one, a lot of our support network here. And we made this big leap to be in South Carolina. And we thought, oh, it's going to be so easy when you get ready to start something and when you know you feel like you're supposed to be doing it, things are just supposed to line up. That is not what happened at all. We experienced so many obstacles that there were many times where we questioned, should we pack our bags and come back to Philadelphia? I mean, countless amounts of things that you might think I'm a little bit crazy to talk about them, but when we got down there, probably 3 or 4 months into it, our car caught on fire and burned down, completely disintegrated. And we were like, okay, this is interesting. But at the same time, on the flip side of it, we were having all these amazing opportunities to network with hospital CEOs and people in the community and finding ways to do workshops and things like that. And in that process, I was also applying for jobs as a clinician. And I got rejected, not 1, not 2, but over 80 times for job applications. And I thought, okay, this is good. We are in the middle of a rural area, and how are we going to survive? How are we going to make it? We don't have a car, multiple rejections. And in this process, I was also kind of building this branding. I was building this branding of what we like to term visionary nurse. And it really kind of started with saying, you know what? Despite what my obstacles, my circumstances are showing me, I know there's a bigger vision that I have. And every time I had these conversations with, you know, various hospital leaders or clinic leaders or community leaders, they would always say, oh, we like what you're doing, we like what you're sharing, we like what you have to say. And I thought to myself, well, how do we work that out? And they just kept saying, we don't know what to do with you. And so I had to say, I have to find a way to encourage myself. And I started compiling these various thoughts that I was learning, experiencing through how do you weather yourself through the storm? How do you deal with rejection, hardships? How do you maintain your character and leadership in the middle of a crisis such as your car burning down and all the things that are happening? And so I find myself kind of compiling these thoughts, and people would say, oh, keep doing that, keep sending these things, keep posting those things. And I thought, I'm just trying to survive. We're just trying to make it. But at the same time, through our very crisis process, we were being encouraged in it. And so I never intended for it to turn into a book. I just thought I was writing my thoughts down. And as months turned into a year, we kept kind of pushing through. And we had many opportunities where we thought, okay, this is going to be the day that we're definitely going to pack up our bags and we're going to move back and it's going to be the end of it. But we just kept feeling this calling to say, no, keep working at it. Pursue the vision that you have, and it's going to come together, and you're going to be able to impact other people. So we, continue to work with the community, provide health workshops in the area, and I kept compiling these thoughts. And every once in a while, I'd get some edits together and think, okay, this time I'm going to pull it together. I'm going to, make this a compilation. I'm going to make this something that other people can see in this broad scope. And fear kept holding me back, and anxiety saying, who's going to want to read what you have to say? Like, who's going to want to read this? Like, is this really going to be helpful to anyone? Even if people were saying, yes, we like what you're saying, you're encouraging me. And there was still all this doubt and this fear. And I say that in a way of, we all have this special opportunity to influence our sphere of influence. The people around us, we are all uniquely equipped to do these things. And a lot of times we can get trapped in kind of the comparison trap of like, well, you do that and you're better at that and I can't do that because, or if I try to do that, I'm not going to look as good as you, or it's not going to work out as good as you. And I say, don't even let that come into your head. We all have some kind of passion, opportunity to influence other people, regardless of whether we think we have it all figured out. But using that unique opportunity will actually help someone kind of get to where they need to go in their own vision. And so as I was kind of getting close to thinking about, pushing it out and saying, maybe we'll make it a book somehow, I just couldn't figure the details out. And we were also, pregnant with our second child up until December. And during the pregnancy, there was a lot of different challenges and complications that we were experiencing. We were just kind of hoping that things would shift around. And as we are a week out from when it's close to my due date, they're saying, well, we may have to do, a special operation or a C-section, but with some other things going on to deliver your baby. And I said, well, we'll just be, for us, our faith is very important, kind of praying that things change. So we get to the delivery time, and they're like, nothing has changed, so we're going to go through the C-section. And about an hour after delivering, I start bleeding uncontrollably, and I almost die in childbirth. And as we're in the middle of this moment, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. 1 minute, your baby's coming out, the next minute, you are on a life and death situation. And people are running around, things are happening, it's really intense, everyone's kind of going here and there trying to figure out what do we do? And they're literally saying, what do we do? How do we figure this out? And I just start praying, and I said, this is going to be okay. And I'm on the operating table, and I'm saying, this is going to be okay. And all of a sudden, I remember everything going black. And I wake up, and I'm intubated, meaning I have a tube down my throat. I'm in intensive care in the ICU. And it's dark, and I'm hooked up to like 20 different IVs. And my husband's by my side, and he says, the baby's okay. For the last 10 hours, we didn't know if you were going to make it. We didn't know what was going to happen, but you're here. And at that moment, while I have a tube down my throat and I'm hooked up to IVs, I had the most peace that I've ever had in my entire life. Don't ask me how, I know how. Again, my faith is huge, and I believe in God being this miraculous healer. But I remember opening my eyes and saying, if I've been given another chance at life, I'm letting fear go out the window. I have no right to let anxiety and fear stop me from fulfilling the things that I need to do. And sure, it took several days for me to be able to move on my own, to get out of the bed, to be able to see our son again, to figure out what was going to happen with life. And I remember once we first got home, and I'm still swollen with just fluids and liquids because, and I'm sorry if this is too, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I'm a little bit over the graphic point of it. But I kept thinking to myself, I have life. I have breath in my body. I can open my eyes. I am living right now. I must accomplish the goals that I have set for myself. And again, all of us are in obstacles in our life. All of us have probably faced, whether big or small, challenges in our life, and we have no idea how we're going to get past that point. But what I can encourage you to say is, if you have life in your body, if you are breathing, you have an opportunity to transform someone else's world. No matter how big or small. It might just be your kids around you. It might just be the neighbor down the street. But don't ever let yourself shrink back from that. And so that was what inspired this visionary nurse to come through. And essentially, the title of it is 90 Days of Inspirational Musings of Being Influentially Visionary. But essentially, it's just my reflections of all the things that I learned, all the rejections, all the hurt, all the situations. Those things actually grew me as a leader and as an opportunity to have a vision. And so one of the things that I wanted to read was just kind of, I was going through a really hard portion of a season. It was in the first months that we were here. And I was just reflecting on how are we going to get through this? How are we going to continue to stay true to this? And one of the thoughts I wrote down for day 8, I said, as yet another season ends and a new one begins, it's easy to feel a bit resistant to the change in temperature and season. But it's important to recognize that although the change is imminent, the balance is important. To be successful in the tough times as well as flourish when you're in your stride, it is important to clearly understand your vision, both personally and professionally. You must also be strategic about what and with whom you surround yourself to promote and maintain a healthy outlook on your seasons. And I remember looking back at that, and even now looking back at it and saying, wow, that's actually encouraging me to think back through these things. And at the end, I have self-reflections after each of like 7 to 10 days. And the self-reflection I put out there was, where have you felt bogged down by the season you're in? Where can you focus on your strengths versus your weaknesses that you may feel? Create a vision plan for yourself. If you don't have a target to aim at, you will always feel lost. And I really challenge everyone to think about that, because we all have these, and I truly believe this, we all have these lofty ideas, these big ideas. Maybe a long time ago you thought it would never happen and you've given up on it, but I truly think everyone has a major idea and vision in their mind that they can execute. And you trick yourself out of it, or you psych yourself out of it, or you let fear say, well, I'll just hide behind the background. I'll let somebody else handle that. But I say, treat every day as a day that you can change someone else's life. Your ability to change someone else's life it might be bigger and better than what I can do. But the biggest thing is focusing on your strength, not your weakness. It's very easy to say, I'm not good at this, I can't make this, I haven't tried this, or I tried and I failed, or how do I know? And I say, move aside that thought process, because that is always going to be kind of this inner critic psyching you out. But really instead say, what's my strength? I'm good at, and start writing that down so you can remind yourself. And every time you, even in whatever success that you find yourself in, continue to revisit what you can be strengthened in. Because a lot of times what happens is that we get hung up on our last success. And there's this really famous mentor of ours that said, your last success is going to be the obstacle to your next movement or to your progress. Because a lot of times we think, oh, I did that thing, I accomplished that thing, then I'm good. But that's actually one of your bigger hurdles. If you stop at the last thing that you accomplished, you'll never get to fulfill the very thing that you need to fulfill. So I encourage you, if you have a piece of paper even right now, jot down for yourself, how is this season of life been for you? Where have you felt bogged down? Where have you gotten hung up on your weaknesses versus your strengths? And start writing down strengths for yourself. If you had to make a vision for yourself right now, not based off of your past circumstances or what you think you're doing in life or where you are right now where you are is just a season. Seasons are temporary and they do change. You can choose to prolong your season for as long as you want, or you can choose to utilize it to say, where do I want to go to next? Because eventually it's not going to be cold for forever. Eventually we won't have to wear heavy coats and scarves and everything else. Eventually spring will get here, even though the first official day of spring. And that's the other thing. A lot of times we have expectations for things and we think, time clock, where is it? It said March 20th, it's supposed to be beautiful. And that's what we do in life, right? We experience these things and we say, time clock, 20 years ago I thought I was going to do this, or I'm fill in the blank. Now is your time. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about tomorrow. You have today. So do what you can do with today. And I encourage you to think about, where do you go next? Don't let your last accomplishment stop you. Because I absolutely believe that as everyone understands and fulfills the vision that they're provided to have and that is ingrained in them, that eliminates the misuse and even abuse of others. Because a lot of times when we don't know who we are, that's when we start to kind of lose ourselves and we start to interact with people in a way that essentially just ends up tearing them down because we feel insecure in what we're doing. But really, learning to stand in that strength keeps away that idea of, comparison, competition, breaking down, or thinking I have to always match up to whomever it is. So I want to read one more thought to you. And these were kind of original quotes to live by that I had, but it was in, this is the chapter called Your Destiny. And I wrote down in this one, vision is the blueprint to change. Goals give the foundation to vision. Boldness opens the door to opportunity. I encourage you to write down your vision at all times, even if it doesn't happen right now. If you don't have it written down, if it's just in your head always, it's going to stay in your head. It's always going to stay in your head. After you've started writing those things down, start thinking about those goals. Every single step is going to get you somewhere. And again, think about life. Every time you are able to open your eyes, you have a new opportunity to achieve a goal. Whether it's big or small. For me, it was literally day by day by day. And I said, well, if I have another day, I'm going to keep going. And then from there, as you start to build up that confidence in the goals and vision you place for yourself, you have to be bold on it. I never envisioned myself being an author or talking to people about ideas or saying, I'm going to do this thing. But it got to a point where I said, why not? Why not? And when you run out of the ability to answer the questions to the why not, that's when you'll be confident enough to do what you need to do. And I dare you to keep asking yourself, why not? Why not? Why not? And answer yourself until you can't answer yourself anymore. Then you know that you're ready to step forward. So I appreciate you guys kind of listening to a little bit of my journey. If you have any questions, please ask me. But I really just want to encourage you to think about what your vision for life is. Right here, right now. And again, don't let past fears, failures, mistakes, life seasons stop you from that. Because when you're given today, you do what you can do with today. And wait till tomorrow comes. And if you're given tomorrow, then you still have one more chance to keep going. And from there, before you know it, you'll be influencing the people around you to also embrace the visions that they have inside of them too. So, thank you so much for listening. And just to kind of give you a background of, I have a website called visionarynurse.com, where through that website, I post various, and I see all of this as a form of health and holistic health. Holistically, not only physically being healthy, but also in mind, body, and spirit as well. And a lot of times the things that even stifle our ability to be physically healthy is sometimes even our mindset about ourselves and about who we are. And so I started this journey of visionarynurse.com also as an offshoot of being a coach and mentor for nurses. And the book that we have written or put out, that I've written, my husband is my graphic designer, my tech guy, as you can see, is an ebook solely. And again, it's called 90 Days of Inspirational Musings on Being Influentially Visionary. But it just goes through, and it's kind of an on-the-go thing. It's available through my website. It's only $6.99, so it's a quick, easy download. You've gotten your copy before, and if you decide, if you've gotten a chance to read it or anything, or if there's anything that's kind of stood out to you, feel free to share. But it's to give you something to have at all times. We always have our phones, so it's something to kind of that you can look through and encourage yourself. And one of the things I say in there, it's not for you to kind of zoom through or for it to be a quick read. It's to keep reminding yourself of different things. Keep reminding yourself of where you're going, giving you something to hold on to. And it ranges from, and there's some, nursing specific references in there because, I am a nurse. But a lot of it just has to do with character and integrity and leadership, which for me is a mark of someone who's truly a visionary leader, but also a healthy leader. Because a lot of times, again, if we don't have an understanding of ourselves and what our vision is and where we're going in life, that's where we often start to misuse and abuse our own selves as well as the people around us, because we feel like we don't know where we're going, and so it can cause us to spill over into other situations and other ways of how we address life and do things. So